My name is Amanda Kibler. I'm a resident of Terre Haute, Indiana, and Vigo County. I grew up near the farms, the properties, and institutions that are in both Vigo and Vermilion County. Um, my concerns are as follows. Wabash Valley Resources plans to capture and store CO2 in pipelines and well sites throughout Vigo and Vermilion counties. The use of eminent domain and 45Q federal funds to secure our community's lands benefiting a private company is unacceptable. The inherent dangers of the Wabash Valley Resources Project are as follows: pipeline leaks and explosions due to both human error and also man-made situations like earthquakes, um, any other thing that may be going on beneath the surface of our land, permanent contamination of water, land, and air, and a real threat to human life. There's been no acknowledgement of such dangers by Wabash Valley Resources, or no resources have been set aside in case those issues happen, and we have no protection for our citizens because of that. The residents of Vigo County have worked diligently for years fighting this project. The lack of transparency from our government officials and agencies have not kept us from doing our own research. Other states have had CO2 well breaches and lives have been lost. We refuse to back down to those whose only goal of CCS is financial gain at the risk of our communities. Please join us in ending this threat of eminent domain and in eliminating the federal funding of this dangerous and inconsequential benefit to eliminating carbon emissions. Other states have banned CCS. Why not Indiana? Thank you.
My name is Doug Martin. I'm the town board president at Universal Indiana. We have a project we've been fighting for over 2 years now, where they're going to sequester carbon dioxide less than 2 miles from our town hall. Nobody wants it here. Wabash Valley Resources is the company involved. They have never been to one town board meeting. During the EPA hearing, I turned around asking them if they even knew where Universal Indiana was. We don't want it here for various reasons. We don't want our aquifer to be destroyed. We do not want, old ladies to go out with their cats and then all of a sudden they can't breathe because there's a leak, and then them and half the town is dead. We there's no one around here that wants it, and we feel that it's just handouts to people that don't need the money. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Jim Roskovinsky. I've lived in Universal about 60 years. I took care of Universal's municipal water for 43 years. So I'm definitely worried about our drinking water aquifer. I like to point out that every water system in the state of Indiana is responsible for wellhead protection, and that is to protect our drinking water. But it don't seem like they're wanting to follow us now with this Wabash Valley. Another point that I would like to make out is Peabody was out here for I don't know how many years, and they did a lot of blasting, and they've shook up all that shale rock that they think is going to keep this back. Anybody that lived in Universal knows that their basements got cracked, their wells got busted and drained out, all that because of what Peabody was doing with their blasting. One other point I'd like to make, they keep talking about they're going to drill down through our cap rock. That cap rock is supposed to protect us. But you tell me, when you drill down through a piece of rock and you're going to try to stick a pipe down through it, how are you going to seal that? Because if you don't seal it, everything that they're pumping down below is going to migrate right back up around that pipe. And next thing you know, it's going to be in our aquifer, and we're going to be in a world of hurt. Thank you.
My name is Mike Kelly, and I've lived in Vermilion County for 75 years. I worked at Newport Army Ammunition Plant, where the VX gas was manufactured. Wabash Valley Resources pilot project affects Vermilion and Vigo counties. This worries me because the environment and the drinking water for us and for those in Illinois who rely on it also. The VX project served the country, but this project serves a private interest and of the company, of this company only for monetary gain through federal funds like the 45Q tax credits. Legislation has changed the laws in Indiana to allow private companies to use eminent domain to take their land. The safety need has not been put in place, and we will be left with a toxic dumping ground. The state may take responsibility after the company leaves, and I don't feel that's adequate. And that's all I got to say for right now.
My name is Janet Stroll-Ciantio. I'm here in Vigo County. I am a farmer. I inherited my farm from my father. It is a generational farm, almost 200 years, and we are a crop farm. I see this project of Wabash Valley Resources coming in, and that will change the farming in our area, and that greatly disturbs me because of the other farmers, including Susan, my cousin behind me. I feel that this is going to change our community drastically. I see the future of our children being greatly changed by the risk of this, the living with the thought of this always being in the back of our minds of an eruption. This is a tremendous burden to put on us, and I do not feel that we should be left with all this possibly having to state where we are being damaged, if they can walk away. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Flo from Indiana. I have been listening to all my other fellow neighbors here, and it seems to me that we all have pretty much the same concerns about Wabash Valley resources. My husband and I live half a mile from the Illinois state line, and my home, and the few acres that I do have is all under the plumes under us. So what I want to know is if my ground is being contaminated with CO2 under it, what is to keep the CO2 from migrating a half a mile west of my house over into Illinois? Now, Illinois has different rules and regulations that Indiana has. At least Illinois is stepping up. Our legislators here in Indiana have been bought, and they're selling Indiana out to the highest bidder, which happens to be Wabash Valley Resources. And let's see. Also, one other little bit, we have heard rumors about the pipeline not being going through, and they are planning on trucking this CO2, this hazardous CO2, up a major 4-lane highway, taking it across country, very close to an elementary school, through the old Peabody ground that Jim was talking about had been blasted for years. It's also been said that the solar panel people have been up on Peabody ground, and the Peabody ground is not stable enough to put solar panels. Well, something is not stable enough to put solar panels. It sure isn't stable enough to put CO2 into the ground. Other things we've hearing about is more trucking through the country. 90-degree turns. Now, how in the world is semis going to make 90-degree turns to get to these well sites? There is just an awful lot of unanswered questions that we cannot get our local commissioners, our local representatives, to find any answers for us. I'd appreciate any answers that you can get for us. And that's about all I have to say.
My name's Wade Biggs. I've been in this area for 54 years of my life. My family's been in here in this area since the late 1700s. So we have a pretty good history within this area. My shop, it would be right above one of the plumes, but I also would be living between the two plumes. One thing that's really bad is that I was former firefighter and rescue. I taught it. I was an NFPA fire instructor. And like Flo said, they're wanting to truck us stuff up and down 63. We just had a major wreck the other day, just right at the corner of one of the areas on which they plan on going. But there's no safety protocols that they have set in place for any of this stuff. If something does happen, it's a body recovery and it's not anything else but a body recovery because we can't get the trucks in, we can't get the personnel in to do any type of rescue service. It's such a dangerous thing, and people just don't quite understand how bad it can actually be until it happens. You don't know what it's like if you've never removed a child's dead body or an adult's dead body from anything. It's pretty hard for not just the rescue person, but it's pretty hard for the family to know that they cannot get help where it's needed. And this company has just ignored all, basically the people in the state of Indiana and its residents on just to get this passed through. And it's kind of heartbreaking for us family members and us people in this area to be ignored by everybody else and thinking that this is a good thing. It's just something to consider in the long run. And we don't need another disaster. We don't need a disaster so great that puts Indiana on the map for a place not to live. It's pretty scary.
My name is Cheryl Ross. I am a new Wabash County Commissioner. CCS came to us before I was elected. I started in 2024. Tried to talk to the previous commissioners about it. It was a lot of silence for quite a while. I live basically about 5 miles by the way the crow flies from the area that they plan on putting the well. It's Poet Bioengineering. They've been here in our county for 17 years. They partnered up with Vault 44-100. It's called the Beargrass Project. Basically, my concerns, well, there's many, but can I show you a pie chart? So this is, I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. When they came to the first meeting, they told us they wanted 2,000 acres. They'd like to have 6. 10 would be optimum. That would be their great idea of plume space. After not being able to find even 2,000 acres, they took that and shrunk it. So my pie chart is if I went to make a pie and it was blueberry and all those little squares happen to be cherry, would my pie be 100% blueberry? My answer is no. So we have approximately 6 or 7 interested people that have farms scattered out in my pie that are interested to do carbon capture. And who knows how many not interested. These people, the way we understand it, they're just going to come knocking on their door one day and say, sorry, the plume's under you. You're now part of this project. Seems very unfair. The way that our governor just put the DNR in charge of giving the final well permit, takes away our home rule. So as Wabash County works on an ordinance, we worry that, will that ordinance even be effective for us? Will we be able to have some control over security, protection for us, so that we have ways for rescue if something goes wrong? We've seen in this country for, the entire almost 250 years, we've made mistakes. And I feel like this is going to be another one of those places that they put the well, ask for forgiveness later. I guess my questions to them, that they haven't answered is, how much money is it worth to Poet or Vault over somebody's life? And we can't seem to get answers. Another thing that concerns me is neighbors. Once they start drilling this massive well that will go close to 4,000 feet into the ground, what about the neighbors that are right there across the street? That well will never stop. That drilling will not stop. What do they do for those people that have to endure that day and night, every waking hour, every sleeping hour? What do they do for them? There are just too many unanswered questions with this, and it seems like this is just nothing more than a way to make very few wealthy. And from what I've found so far, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, that is going to come about for our county as far as protection or additional taxing so that we can, better our roads or anything else. Not that that's what I would want. I really want it to just go away. I want the 45Q credits to go away. I want the government to protect us. And I want our citizens to be protected. I want our well water to be protected. I'm just really concerned. Thank you.
My name's Josh Leffel. I live, really close to Poet. It's right there. You can probably see it. I don't know if you could or not, but I live 1 mile northeast of the Poet ethanol facility. They partnered with Vault 4401, like Cheryl said. About 5 years ago, I was blessed to receive a brand new handicap accessible home for our two boys that suffer from Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. This home was unexpected. It came about out of the blue, quite literally, and it was a life changer for all of us. My boys are free, they're mobile, they're happy, they're safe. They can go anywhere we can go. It's been like a dream come true, something that you just don't see unless you're like watching a TV show or something that might happen there. It happened to us. Well, it was great for like 4 years until about last year. I heard pounding down the road, and it was a seismic testing truck. So I got to researching why it was there. And I found out that Poet had partnered with Vault to do a CCS facility across the field from my home. I contacted them, told them my concerns. They didn't care, not even a little bit. So we're concerned that this project is going to pose several risks to our family, such as earthquakes, ground contamination, water contamination, as well as oxygen depletion instead of CO2 pipeline rupture. And for us, that's a pretty big deal because everybody else out here can just hop in their vehicles and leave, like just lickety split, they're gone. With us, we can't do that. We got two boys that need our help. We have to use a lift to get them out of bed. We have to use a lift to put them in a chair. Single file, they'd have to go to the house. They'd have to wait for the ramp to come down in the wheelchair, wait for the ramp to go back up to load one wheelchair, then another wheelchair, and then hope to God we can get out before our CO2 would come and deplete the oxygen out of our exhaust pipes, killing all of us. We've relayed that to Poet. They don't care. Vault doesn't care. We fear that our once-in-a-lifetime dream come true house and our land can very well turn into a nightmare in a real short time. I'd like to also note that the overwhelming majority of our community are very much against this CCS project. There are signs up and down this road all over this county and surrounding counties that say that they don't want this. You think Boat cares? No, actually, they told their workers, I know this to be true, to shut up, keep doing their jobs, ignore the signs, ignore what we think, because it's already a done deal. The opposition seems to be growing by leaps and bounds. People know that this CCS is nothing more than a scam to make companies very rich for the 12 years that they plan to inject this CO2 into our neighborhoods. And none of these projects, as everybody else has been saying, would even happen if it wasn't for 45Q. And that's not just me saying that. I've had a lot of interaction with Poet and Ball. I've got several emails from both of them. In a meeting we had on March 20th, we asked them if they'd be doing this if it wasn't for 45Q. They beat around the bush, never answered pretty much every question anybody asked. However, when I asked them with an email that they let us utilize, they explained that the 45Q is the only reason that they're doing it. It's a direct correlation with the 45Q. That's why they're doing it for 12 years. It's a big joke. I just wish they would stop these projects. I wish they would listen to us. I wish our words wouldn't fall on deaf ears. What they're doing is ethically and morally wrong. So please, I would ask people to just stop these insane CCS projects from moving forward, protect our communities, protect our environment, and protect our new home. Thank you.
You're ready.
My name's Susan Strokos. I live in Vigo County, Indiana. I own a small farm. It's been in my family for over 200 years. I lost my parents in the past few years. I inherited our farm, and I promised my dad that I would never sell it. I would keep it for my children and, of course, my grandchildren. In 2022, I got a call from a company, and they were called Wabash Valley Resources. And they said they wanted to meet with farmers and talk about fertilizer. And at the time, the pandemic was going on. So, costs were high, right? So I thought it would be a good idea. So, I told them when was the date and time, and I'd be there. Well, they said they were meeting with the farmers. They gave me the date, gave me the time. And so that day, of course, I went down there. And Janet had rode down there with me. When I got there, we walked up the stairs into a big conference room. And there were no other farmers there. There were 3 men. There was a big map up on the wall. And I asked them, what is this about? And I said, you said you wanted to talk about fertilizer. But at the moment, it was not about fertilizer. On the map, I seen a red line and I seen the words Pine Ridge. And that is out in my community. So I asked them what that was. I wanted to know what the red line was and what this was all about. Needless to say, they wouldn't give me a copy of any of that paperwork. What they wanted was me to sign a piece of paper, give me a few $100s, and I was tipped. And I told them, we don't work like that out here. So anyway, I left. I didn't sign anything, and I started researching. The problem being was I couldn't find very much stuff because the company had changed their names. There were many LLCs involved with this. Fast forward a year later, I got a letter in the mail from a different company name. Well, of course, then I find out it's related to that company and they're wanting to do carbon capture. I didn't even know what that meant, but now I do know what it meant. It means they're putting my community at risk. They are trying to take my farm that I have been and promised my dad to be the steward of this land. And they are literally taking that away from me. They are putting my grandchildren at risk. The school that they go to is just within miles of the dump site. And yes, we call them dump sites. It is not a well. It is a dump. It's their toxic dump that they're wanting to put in my community. They're putting our lives at risk, our land at risk, our water at risk, all while taking our land. It's our land. We have a right to say no. And I feel we should fight for that right. I'm very emotional because this land, it doesn't make me a lot of money. It actually, my husband has to work a job so we can keep this small farm. But I made a promise to my dad, as he made to his family, as my children have made to me. We will keep our farm and we will do what it takes. I want this stopped. This is crazy, and a private company should not be able to control and have control over our lives and our land. I want the money taken away because it is about money. This is not full-time jobs. They've only said they're going to be here 12 years. And I didn't even know what that meant until I looked it up and found that's when the money kind of ends, or they think that it's going to end. So they only promised to be here 12 years. They don't live here. They're not committed to our community. And we don't want them here. So we're telling no to Wabash Valley Resources. Don't put us at risk. This is experimental. You say it's proven for 70 years, but there has only been one other Class 6 well before they came to town. And it has leaked, right? So the proof is in the pudding for me. It is not a proven thing. There are risks involved, and they don't want to talk about the risk. They sell it as it's proven, it's a done deal, but it's not done here. We will continue to fight back and save what's ours and do it for our kids and our community. Thank you.
So, my name is Judy Mendoza, and I live in Whiting, Indiana, which is the industrial corridor of the state. I've been retired for 2 years and have lived in my home for 32 years. And my home sits within 2 miles of the BP refinery. I'm concerned about any CCS project happening in Indiana, whether it's blue hydrogen hub, a CO2 pipeline, or a well to dump CO2 into. I don't understand why our elected officials have blinders on as to the negative impacts of these initiatives. We're not talking about moving natural gas to people's homes. We're talking about CO2, which is a super dangerous, if anything goes wrong, as it already has in Satartia, Mississippi. And seriously, is it seriously going to reduce our carbon emissions by any amount that will be helpful to the environment? For Pete's sake, they're going to have to burn more fuel to do these projects and run it through the pipelines. Burning more fuel, how does that help to clean up our environment? Politicians, do your homework and have a conscience for the people who you serve and do an honest assessment of these initiatives and consider the voices of your citizens, not just of those of the industry lobbyists and other elected officials who support this. The fact that the federal government has rescinded any safety measures for the CCS projects should be a red flag to you. I implore you, elected officials, to spend time with families who will be impacted by these initiatives before you move further on any CCS projects. This is the wrong way to reduce carbon emissions, so let's find a different way to do it. Let's work together, not against each other.
Susan Adams from Atlanta, Illinois, live outside in the country on the family farm that we own. John is fifth generation. I've been active with the Illinois Water Authority Association and the Mahomet Aquifer Consortium for the last 20 years. I currently serve as chair of the Water Authority Association. And I'd like to indicate that the land we own and where we live is in the target area of sequestration and any pipelines. We actually have on a farm field that will be is currently 300 feet from one of the injection wells that's currently going through permitting. And injection wells have been known to blow out, and that's a very unsafe situation and would not give anyone time to leave the area. And a previous pipeline had been planned for the Atlanta area that would have gone within 1,500 feet of our house. It would have been a 19-inch interior diameter pipeline. And again, if there was rupture or leaking, that would not give us time to leave a house to get out of the area. And it's also a house that part of it was built in the 1846. So no vapor barrier in it. And to say shelter in place is not really a good option. And we've also seen where leaks at the Decatur injection plants have now been brought to the attention of the community very quickly. My concern is that any leaks that occur in the area aren't going to be addressed well or taken care of, and it just continues to put our life at issue. And the injection fronts and pressure that's created underground has also become an issue of concern for injection, because there will be 2 injection wells operating at the same time. We only have science reference for 1 injection well operating at one time and not injecting as much as newer wells and projects will be doing. So it's not, this whole thing is really an issue of concern for those of us that live in the area and the communities. Just a very unsafe situation. A lot of things to be considered. I would just ask that these projects not go forward just because people's and their lives have not been considered in the process. Thank you.
I'm Whitney Boyce, and I live in Vigo County, Indiana, just outside the small town of New Goshen that is being targeted by the Wabash Valley Resources pilot project. I am a mother and a school teacher, and I am utterly appalled at the lack of consideration for human and specifically children's health and safety in terms of the siting of these projects. There has been no consideration, no discussion with citizens or the counties for where is not only feasible, but best for the community for these projects to occur. Everyone knows that these projects carry very severe inherent risks. And just because risks might be low or we don't have the data that correlates how often a major leak or an eruption may occur, doesn't negate the risk. And to me, the lives of our children are too precious to risk. These companies keep telling us to believe the science. Well, I don't live under the plume of Wabash Valley Resources. I live in what would be considered the pressure front of the Wabash Valley Resources pilot project plume, a pressure front that they did not disclose on the EPA permit that they have been granted, a pressure front that they don't want to talk about, that includes multiple people that would not be aware if it weren't for their neighbors' outreach. I believe in science. I know that there are 2 sides to every story. But when a company refuses to use science in their modeling and in their permitting, that tells me that these projects should not be allowed to go forward at the company's behest. So I ask that you stand up and protect the people who don't have the power to protect themselves. Thank you.